Hey, welcome back to This is Florida. I'm Nate Riggs. I'm here with Josh Lovely. Today, we got an exciting show for you.
We're wearing sunglasses because we got a cool show, Nate.
We've got a cool show, cooler than most. So go ahead and follow the channel. If you're listening on the podcast, if you're on YouTube, subscribe, like the video, and be sure to click that little bell so you get notifications because you never know when we're going to post.
Never know. Anyway, we are talking the coolest thing you can talk about. Credit scores.
Coolest thing.
Nothing's cooler than having a good credit score.
Today we're going to give you top 3 ways to improve your credit score.
Give you the secret, and you'll be wearing shades too.
All right, let's get right into it. Number 1, your payment history matters. So now you might be saying, how is that a way to improve my credit score? Well, make your payments on time.
There's nothing you can do once you've made that bad payment. Whatever you can do, scrape it together, borrow it from somebody, call the bank if you can't make that payment on time. Because once you miss that payment, once they report a late payment, I'm sorry, Nate, it is too late. It is going to be on there.
How long does a late payment stay on your credit report?
Late payment's going to be on there for about 7 years from the date you missed that payment, and they report it 7 years.
All right, so you got a credit card. Maybe you're using it wisely. You're doing things like, hey, I've got a car, and I need new tires on my car. So rather than spend $1,000 cash out of your bank, you say, okay, I'm going to put that $1,000 onto my credit card, and I'm going to make the payment of $50 a month or $200 over 4 months, whatever it is, 4 or 5 months, to pay it off. That way I build some credit, right? That would be a wise way to use your credit.
Yeah, absolutely it would. As long as you're making those payments on time, you're going to fall into this first category. They're going to start looking at you like, hey, this is a guy or gal who makes their payments on time. But that leads us to the next item, Nate.
Oh, yeah?
We're talking credit utilization. So when you get those new tires and you add them to your credit card, well, it really depends how much those tires are as compared to your credit limit.
That's right. So if your credit limit is, say, most of the cards you start out with, somebody who's never had credit, they're going to get like a $500 or a $1,000 card. Yeah. Now, if you have a good career or say you're an active duty service member or you've got a contract job, something of that sort, the bank may go ahead and give you a $5,000 limit right away. They may bump it up to $8,000 or $10,000 as you start using
30, it. Sometimes credit unions give out outrageous credit limits I've seen.
Right. So simple math tells us that, maybe a 30% utilization is what you're going for. That would be $300 charged to a $1,000 limit card.
Exactly. And a lot of conventional thinking would say, hey, I've got $1,000 in my pocket. I've maxed out my credit card. I want my score to go up. I'm going to pay that $1,000. Well, sometimes the credit bureaus can look at that and say, hey, what's going on? This person's looking to make a purchase. And, hey, maybe you are, and that's why you're paying it off. A smarter move may to be maybe to pay it down to that $300. Throw $700 on there because those credit agencies like to see you in that 30% range that Nate mentioned.
Yeah, and it may be higher. Now, I know we're talking credit here, and obviously we're not talking at all about interest rates and throwing money down the hole. We're talking about how to get your credit score up because you want your credit score up so that when you go to purchase some real estate in Jacksonville, Florida, you are able to get approved for that mortgage. So if your card has a $10,000 limit, then maybe a 20% utilization is like what? $2,000.
$2,000.
So that's still pretty high. So you can ride $2,000 on that card and make the payments. And maybe you're looking at, hey, over in the next year or two, I'm going to purchase a house. Okay, so you might lose some money due to that interest, but you could really boost your credit score up. And as soon as you close on the house, if you want to, then clear it up because you might not be making a move for another 5 to 7 years unless you're investing in real estate.
Exactly. And the point is when you're assembling your real estate team, you're going to want people who know exactly what they're talking about. And we want to help you. Call me. We'll talk about, hey, I've got $10,000. I just blew out a tire. How much can I charge on my credit card? Because the goal here is to get you in that home, to have that credit score where you're ready to roll when you find that home that you love with Nate.
Yeah, so, okay, let's talk about it a little bit further, though, Josh, before we move on. So what is a credit utilization score? Like, what percentage do loan originators, do underwriters want to see?
Now, underwriters and loan originators, we aren't going to look necessarily at how much of your credit card you have used. We're not caring about utilization. We care very much about that 3-digit credit score that we get when we pull your credit. Now, that is very much determined by your credit utilization. So if I see somebody in the 610 range, somewhere in there, maybe I can tell you why they're at 610, but my underwriter's only going to look at that 610.
Okay, so you're looking mainly at the score, but utilization. Hey, if you like what you're hearing, then sign up for our email list.
Head on over to nateriggsofficial.com, register, follow along with all the socials so you don't miss a thing.
That's right. It's all there. And while you're at it, go to joshlovely.com, apply for a mortgage so we can help you start buying some real estate and building some wealth today. So a lot of experts kind of tend to talk about, hey, don't have more than 20, 25% credit utilization. Now, that's overall from your monthly, correct? Not just that one card.
Yeah, they're going to take your cumulative. Absolutely.
Yeah, so what they're going to look at is, hey, this person makes $4,000 a month income. They've got one credit card that's $200. They've got another that's $300, yada, yada, yada. Say that adds up to $2,000 of debt by the time you got your car payment. Well, now, if you have $2,000 of monthly payments going out of your $4,000 income, that's 50% utilization, correct? And then that is going to lead to a bad score, and you're not going to be approved. So it's not just keeping track of, hey, well, my credit card is only at 20%. Right, but what is the cumulative by the time we add your second credit card and we add your furniture store card, your Zales card because you got engaged, your car payment, right? You know what I'm talking about? Those sorts of things that so many people do, and they don't think of it.
Exactly. So always be aware of your credit utilization. Everybody knows, hey, you got to pay on time or they're going to tank your score. Credit utilization is that number 2 that you want to pay attention to.
Yeah.
Now,
so there's two ways to improve your credit utilization. 1, pay your stuff off if your utilization is too high. 2, if it's too low, charge some things, run a small balance, do it smartly. Or 3, you can also call your bank. And as long as you're in good standing enough and your limits aren't that high to begin with, you can call your bank and you can get them to raise your limit. So for instance, say you have $2,000 on a $5,000 limit card. That's almost a 50% utilization. But if you call the bank and you say, hey, can you bump this card up to $10,000, that's now a 20% utilization on that card. Again, might not affect your cumulative. There's some other things going on there. But call your bank, raise your card limit. Have some self-control and don't rack that.
It all comes back to self-control. And this is why some people get irritated when their banks, I know banks will often just raise your credit limit.
That's true.
And they're doing this to help you. They're also doing this to get you to rack up that credit so you can make payments to them.
Oh, yeah. They want you making payments for the rest of your life.
They're not counting on that self-discipline. They don't think that you are a listener of the This Is Florida podcast, but you are, and you're going to crush it.
I saw a commercial for the Jeep Grand Wagoneer. And
don't do it, Nate.
I don't want to get that Jeep. But they say, hey, it's called the American Dream for the reason, not the American goal, not the American plan. And what it was saying was basically like, hey, it's tough to attain certain levels of things. Now, whether the Grand Wagoneer is that or not. But what I'm saying, we view it as homeownership. Like, homeownership is not an entitlement. It is the American dream. It is something to work towards, and it takes effort, and it takes self-control and discipline to get there.
And when you are deciding, hey, am I going to buy these fresh Nikes that I don't need? Think about the house. Because when it comes down to it, you could charge it to a credit card. You may push that utilization to the limit. You may miss a payment. Who knows what could happen? But do you really need those Nikes when you're looking to buy a home?
Yeah. So we talked about payment history, credit utilization. What's next, Josh?
Credit longevity.
Longevity. And for those of you who don't know, the definition of longevity could be described as length or how long, especially long.
Exactly. And we like to use big words like utilization and longevity. It's a way that I like to make myself sound smart, but saying credit longevity is basically a complex way of saying don't close out those old accounts. If you've had an account since you were 18 years old and you haven't touched it for 10, 15 years and it's got no balance, credit agencies see it as, look how responsible you are. You haven't even maxed out this credit card. You're not even touching it for a decade.
So I do have a credit card that, is it's like a $8,000 limit. It's 10 years old, and we don't really use it. At one point in our life, just like so many other people, it was sky high and to the limit, and it was killing us, and we got it paid down. But rather than just close it, we keep it open, and we do put little things on it here and there just to keep it like alive, because I don't know what the bank's policies are, but you never know. Once in a while, they might go in and do a purge and be like, this card hasn't been used in 10 years. We're shutting it down.
Yeah, and that's different. They may reach a limit where they shut it down, and the credit agencies aren't going to look at that and as unnecessarily as a negative. But one thing I would always encourage everyone to do, because I've heard of people, hey, if you have that $10,000 credit card that you've been working your ass off to pay down and you finally hit zero, don't close it out.
Yeah, keep it open.
You want to have a party that you paid it off, burn the credit card, cut up the credit card, but don't close out the account.
And if you take out a new loan, like say you are getting a car and you got a new car loan, it does need time to season. So if you're looking at purchasing real estate, but I bought a car 4 months ago, well, you might need a couple more months of on-time payments for that to show up on your report in a positive way. Josh, so how long does it take for something like that? Like if I went out and I bought a car and it shows up on my report, and you're like, hey, it hasn't kicked in as like, hey, a consistent positive payments. How long does it take? Probably?
I'm really glad you asked this, Nate, because this is something that's very important.
How are you?
Very important with credit scores.
It's important.
Here, you ready? It depends. All right, so
okay,
like most things with your credit score, if you are the type of buyer, consumer, whatever, who's had your whole life for the last 30, 40 years, you've always had a $900 a month car payment, and guess what? You buy a new car and your payment's about $900. Big deal. It's probably not going to hurt your score plus or minus. But if you open up a brand new account that's $900 and you have no history of making that sort of serious payment in your life, you don't have a mortgage, you don't have a crazy car, they're going to want to see some seasoning. So it's going to take maybe 4-5 months before you see that credit score not only go back to where it was, but almost certainly go above it as long as you are paying on time.
Yeah, so the bottom line is you're paying on time, you got a proper amount of credit utilization, and your accounts have been around a while, and you're making those on-time payments. It is a matter of self-responsibility, self-discipline, and being wise, and listening to information like this. And we know this stuff because we're in the industry, but we also are in the news, and we're seeing when, hey, changes are made to policies. We're following along with those. We're reading books. We're listening to other podcasts, following money markets and everything else to get this information. If you are looking to purchase a home, and you want the bank to loan, like think about this. A lot of people don't realize it. When you go to purchase a home, like very rarely, you're not putting up $200,000 for a $200,000 home. The bank is. They're putting up the money and you're promising to pay it back. So you're borrowing $200,000, $400,000, depending on what state you live, how much money you make, $800,000. Maybe you're borrowing $1 million and you're putting $200,000 down. Now, $200,000 might seem like a lot to some people, and it is a lot of money. But if you put $200,000 down for your 20% on $1 million, the bank is still carrying $800,000 of that, and you're the one promising to pay back the loan. And they're looking at these things and saying, hey, he promised to pay back this loan, and he did. Hey, he promised to not overuse his credit card, and he didn't, okay? Hey, he promised to be there for more than just the first 3 months, for 4 years, for 5 years, for 6 years, because remember, these are 30-year loans on your house. So his credit longevity matters. That's why all of that stuff matters. That's why it's more than just an entitlement, and it's something you have to work towards and you have to achieve.
Exactly. And on their own, these three things, you may say, all right, well, times are tight, I'm going to miss a payment, whatever. Absolutely not. As you start to add them together, it can put you in jeopardy of not being able to buy a house and be worth 40 times what your neighbor's worth. Start the generational wealth. All right, let's talk quickly about something that, people beat me up. They come to me with knowing their scores from Credit Karma.
Yeah.
You get it through, I know mine comes through Navy Federal. They tell me my credit score.
Your bank app, maybe you're on Mint.
Yeah, whatever it may be. So I really want to stress the fact that while these scores aren't accurate, they're out there. They're a good thing to pay attention to. But if it says your score is 800, 810, well, maybe it's not actually 810, but if you see it start to slip and start to go down,
pay
you're
attention.
You're going to want to pay attention. So where can people get their credit report, Nate?
Yeah, where do you get your credit report? So the best way to get your credit report, once a year, you can go to annualcreditreport.com. Now, this is not your credit score. This is your credit report. So this is where you're going to see, oh, man, 3 years ago, I missed that payment on whatever it was. Or, okay, look, I bought this Escalade, and I've been making payments for 8 months solid. Wow, that's cool. I didn't realize I had it that long.
And this is also where you may find things that you are unaware of. And this is more common than you would think. You may see, I don't know, man, you may see that $900 car payment, and you're like, I do not have a $900, I don't have a car.
I don't have that car. Somebody took out a car. That is fraudulent. Somebody is using my stuff and they're ruining my score and my chances of owning a home. And so you need to stay on top of this stuff and you need to pay attention. And it takes work. Listen, I saw something today. Actually, I'm gonna shout out to Jesse Lane. He's a local construction guy and business owner, and he posted something. And he was talking about starting a business, but this doesn't just apply to starting a business. This also applies to this of your life. What are you doing when you go home from work? You playing video games at 30 years old, or are you logging on to make sure that your finances are in order? Right?
Exactly.
Like, these are the efforts. And I'm not saying don't play video games and don't enjoy life. You got to do that. But so often we hear just excuses of like why people can't do it and an entitlement expectation. And you've got to shift that thinking and you've got to be self-responsible and be like, it is up to me, nobody else to do it.
Exactly.
So keep track of your stuff.
When somebody says, take the bull by the horns, this is the bull. Let's go. When somebody says, pull yourself up by your bootstraps, here's some bootstraps, dude. Let's go.
Yeah. So if you're thinking, I want to know what my true credit score is, and you know what, the time is right for me to get out of this apartment, to purchase a home, or if I want to buy an investment property. I own one home, but you know what? I want to take care of my family, and I want to build that generational wealth. First thing you need to do is go to nateriggsofficial.com and you need to fill it out right there. Josh and me are both going to get that information on there. He is my lender partner, so he's going to get it instantly. We're both going to be able to get in contact with you, and you can bypass me and go right to joshlovely.com and you can do the mortgage application there.
Yeah, you can fill in your info. I'll give you a call straight from there. And one thing that, maybe it's not the right time to pull your credit. It's not right all the time for everybody. But let's say your score is bad, it's bad. And a lot of people get scared. Man, when was the last time you had your credit pulled?
You did it.
I did it a couple of months, 4 months ago.
It was like June.
June? Were you nervous?
No.
Well, I was nervous when mine got pulled.
Really?
Yeah, dude. I was scared to death. It turned out, I don't want to.
I pay my bills.
I pay my bills too, but my score was fine. But I was nervous. So if you've missed payments, if you come talk to me. If your score comes in at a 550,
text him.
I've seen it happen.
What's your number? Put his number in the notes.
904-563-4651.
What?
If you're trying to get that score up and you are willing to do the work, you can absolutely. Credit scores are not written in stone. They are written in the sand. Let's get yours up if it's not already.
Let's do it. NateRiggsOfficial.com. Give Josh a call on his cell phone. We'll take care of you. As always, share this episode with your friends, people you think that you might use it, that it might be useful to. If you're thinking about purchasing a home, subscribe, follow along, hit the like button, and leave us a comment so we know you're there.
Thank you so much for joining us.